Welcome back to another flight analytics. Here we are in Chabre. We're gonna go for a 100-kilometer out and return flight. Straight off the bat after takeoff, it wasn't really working super nicely, so I did some 8s before I could get high enough to do turns. We had some southeast wind here early in the day. Climbed out to about 1700, almost 1800 meters, decided that's high enough and pushed west. As you can see, the glide is pretty bad, so I was making sure I will take this next climb. Usually this area works pretty well. We have some fields here on the left, the wind is pushing in there, around here, these hills. Goes around there and triggers well on these fingers. So I took my time to get as high as I could. I didn't want to risk bumming out. I started the flight a little late, so the system was working pretty well at this point. I took this line as it's more reliable usually. There's a little convergence zone here in Chabre. The southeast winds come from here, the westerlies come here, and the convergence lines follow this ridge line more or less. Once I got to Orpia ridge, got a really nice climb here, made sure I top it out, do a really nice work here before connecting to Beaumont mountain. Even got a really nice glide out. Awesome climb. I was looking forward to get some airtime here. Nice glide over. You can see the southwest winds came in here, so I just topped it out to 2,500 meters. Here I had really nice clouds, so I decided to detour. This is not the fastest way how to go north, but I had really nice clouds here, so I decided I'll push west first. As you can see, the southwest is still dominant here. Got lower here and I got a little bit of a sing here because of with the southwest west winds, these mountains creates a lee side for the place where I am. I decided that with the altitude I have, it's enough to move forward. I saw some clouds here. Sure enough, I got some gnarly climb because I'm in the lee side of these hills. When the winds come from the west side, it kind of makes a messy place. Decided to go even further downwind as the valley winds here interacts, and it gives you a little better, smoother climbs. Decided that it's enough for me to go directly. Again, not the most efficient way to do the 100-kilometer flight, but on this day I had some clouds and I knew that this area works. Also, you can really cross here low as I'm doing it here. It doesn't need to be climbed up too high. Not the best way to do it as well, because it's a bit too low and you don't have many good options here to land. But I know that this works with the westerly winds, and the reason for that is these valley winds come like this, and this is also why I'm getting this nice trigger here and climbing out all the way to the base and moving forward again. This is also the reason why I did all this move here, because I knew that I'm gonna have a nice trigger there. Pushing forward a little bit, maybe too far. Had to detour again to go around this ridgeline. But then on the way I got a thermal here. It was a really nice one. And that's again the local systems, southwest winds. Valley winds hit it about like that, so it triggers nicely. It's been in the sun for long enough, so it's a good climb up there. Super sweet glide, and then I really got washed down. I was a bit too optimistic with my height choice and ended up quite low here. Now this works dynamically because the westerly winds comes through these mountains and kicks into that hill quite perpendicularly, but it was pretty windy, so it was hard to get any climb. So I looked around here for a while till I managed to wait for the cycle. I even went a bit more west to see if that worked. Didn't work. Came back, and basically it was just sustaining with the dynamic lift and waiting for the cycle to kick in so I can try. And decided to do this sort of really low jump. We have the wind coming here from the right, pushing over. Also, the wind is coming around this valley there and from opposite side here, and this is all in the sun. There was some clouds, so I was hopeful that it would work, and it did. It was holding me up pretty nice here till I got some better lift. made sure I do what I can to sustain, but all this way here I was gaining a little bit height, so I wasn't too worried about going deeper in. As you can see, not many landing options, so you better be sure that it's working here. And today it was. Went a bit forward and now decided to climb out to start my way back. And this area is a bit tricky to climb out. It's usually more messy than the rest of the day, rest of the area, because if you zoom out, I'm gonna switch to topographic map. You have winds coming from Grenoble here, and you have winds coming from D, coming from the westerlies that turn southwest. You also have these southerly winds coming from La Longine, from Asper area, and they all mix in this area that creates for a really tricky air. It's usually quite messy here, and it was as well today, but I managed slowly to climb out to 2500, and that was enough to start pushing back. Here I had a nice line, had some clouds. I still moved a little bit west before going more south to connect to the nice trigger here. Didn't really work much today, so I decided to just move forward because I was having decent line, and this is all dynamic lift from the valleys here, moving from the west towards east. That's why this whole ridge works pretty well, it keeps you up, and I'm quite low here, only at 1700. I'm just climbing out a little bit to make sure I can climb over these little mountains. And this is really a tricky thing to do as low as I've done here, as you have 3 systems interacting here, coming from the southeast, the west, and the southwest. So if you're too low, it's a bit tricky. I've done it once really low. This time I was higher. These fields here trigger really well, and I knew that I will be able to move forward with just dynamic. Here, in retrospect, I should have climbed a bit higher, because as you will see later on, I got way too low to be comfortable. Here as well I could have climbed up more, and this is the reason why, because if I would have climbed out one or the other place here, I would not get this low here. And this area is a bit tricky. You have multiple winds here. You have the northwest west coming here. It pushes through here as well, more westerly. And the southerlies are still coming a little bit from the opposite side, but it's mostly by now west-northwest in the whole ridge. So getting here low, you're in a semi-lee side, like in the case where I'm right now, you have this little hill, and you get right now where I'm here, that's a bit of a lee side. As you move forward, you can see by the line here that I'm getting lift, and that's from this hill. And then I move forward even more, and I get a bit of a sinky air. Should have tried to work this thermal a bit, but it was really not comfortable. It was quite messy. Another option I could have done is turn towards west here instead of pushing forward. Normally this corner works really well even if you're low, but not in this day. I was getting quite a bit of a sink, and the reason was that the thermals were triggering here and the westerlies were stronger than usually, and I was basically in the lee side of this hill. Luckily it's kind of a rolling thing, it's not super steep, so that's not too bad, but this was way too close for my liking, for my comfort. You can see that I'm really deep in. There's not many options, and really if I get a sing here, I would have not made it out.
Way too close.
I just barely made it out and was super close here. So that's really not a good way to do it. I will make sure that next time I do this flight route, I will climb out in the previous places. I've done it a few times low, and this has been by far the closest call. I was really not happy that I found myself in this place. It's really not a fun place to be. And then it's just 8 and little turns to work my way up here. Took me a while, but it's the end of the day. I knew that once I climb out here, I'm gonna make it all the way back. So I made sure that I stay here as long as needed. 1500 usually is quite nice. You have a nice convergence line here. You can see how nice that glide is, and the reason for that line is that the westerlies has pushed more east and creates a nice line here. So you can use that to move forward, and then these two mountains near Serre also works really good with dynamic plus some bubbles as the westerly winds are coming in. So I didn't really turn too much. I always try a few turns there to see if I have a thermal. It's always good to be higher. Same here. If I feel something, I try. If not, I just keep going forward. And yeah, 1400, 1300 is quite enough late in the day to jump over to Saint-Genis. And once you're here, there's a few options how to go back to Chabre. You can go back to camping or try to go to Chabre. Camping will add you a few more kilometers, but I wanted to finish the 100 kilometer out and back on the point, so I decided to head towards Chabre. As you do that, you have quite a bit of headwind. Initially you have a bit of a crosswind. As you get lower, you're gonna start having the westerly headwinds as you get lower here, and your glide will decrease. And you can see that in the line that the initial line was pretty good, and the last bit you get really steep sink.